about the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. I am just going to start calling it Spelling Bee from this point forward.
Yeah. I'm tempted to call it 25th, but that's what I call the Phantom performance, the 25th. So I'll just call it Spelling Bee. Colloquially, 25th.
25th. Obviously, you have to have abbreviations when before referring to different versions of Phantom. That is... Obviously. You could say 25th to me, and I'd probably think you were talking about that 25th performance of Phantom.
Yeah.
Because it is just so... this isn't the time to get into it, but that performance is just so iconic. But no, it was also funny because I was like trying to search up things around Spelling Bee. Like I was trying to find a New York Times review for Spelling Bee. And so I put in Spelling Bee New York Times and it just came up with tons of stuff about their like mini games. I was like, oh, I'm not talking about theatre. Anyway, we have some news to get to first. First things first, I know before I'd see the day. I have a lot of thoughts about this, believe it or not, guys. Heathers is apparently making its grand return to the US. They announced it on September 1st. They were like, fuck it, we're going back to the US. And there isn't nothing you bitches can say about it. A lot of debate about whether or not they're going off-Broadway or on Broadway. I think if they're smart, they'll go off-Broadway. But I fear that they're going to try and go to Broadway.
Yeah. I mean, they've done off-Broadway.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to want to go back off-Broadway. And with the unfortunate success over here, I just can't see them going off-Broadway, at least without the intention of eventually going to Broadway.
I can see them wanting it to be this massive runaway success and have all the same momentum that it has in the UK, but they could pull it off. But it would be like, I can't believe I'm saying this phrase in the year 2024. It would be like when Be More Chill went off Broadway to Broadway.
Yeah.
Like, I can see why, from a business perspective, you would do this, but it's not going to work, you know? I will be interested to see how this goes, because does Heathers still hold a space in US theatre culture?
I don't think so.
No.
I think it will sell slightly, but I don't think it's going to be a success unless they can get a really good cast.
I've seen some people saying, also the thing with America is that they have a very different context for school violence.
Yeah.
And the first time it was in the US off Broadway, they brought up some of those things of, hey, we have school shootings. In the 80s when it was satirizing it, they weren't as big of a deal, but now someone pulling a gun in a lunchroom is like deeply scary and a lot of these teens' biggest fears.
It's as well, I think, like JD as a character is like a stereotype of school shooters, like the black trench coat.
Yeah.
Explanation of his like divorced parents.
Like this troubled backstory that causes him to do all this violence.
Yeah. I think it's gonna feel, because over here you get that that's like satirical, that's funny isn't the right word.
No. We understand what they're saying more because it's not as personal to us, if that makes sense.
Yeah. In the US, I worry that it will feel like a mockery more than anything. Yeah. Because there's an actual, like, they actually have the thing that JD is based on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the original movie came out before, like, school shooting, so before Columbine, so it was able to get away with it and be funny.
Yeah, it came out in the 80s. Columbine was, like, 99.
Yeah, Columbine was
Sandy Hook, 2005. So there definitely were still school shootings. I don't think it was as big of an issue as it is nowadays.
Attention.
Yeah.
And yes, while they have made changes, they aren't changes to JD. They're changes almost to like, they're quite inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. I enjoy the changes, but they're inconsequential.
I think as well, stuff like Fight for Me.
Yeah.
How's that going to come across? Especially if you're going into it knowing about JD.
Yeah. I also wonder, in a Broadway climate where tickets are so expensive, and young people, whilst they are out and they are spending money, Heathers I don't think is gonna come across their radar. You know what I
Unless
mean?
they do a really big set or something, I also don't think they can justify Broadway prices.
Sorry, that set is cheap as fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, it's a shit set. You can't justify Broadway prices for that production value. And like, okay, I I have got to tell you this. I watched a Gatsby bootleg this week. I didn't actually sit down and watch all 2 hours of it. I just like went to key scenes that I wanted to see how they translated from the book.
Mm-hmm.
So my big question was how the fuck they kill Myrtle in a fucking blackout. You don't even see Daisy killing Myrtle,
Jesus.
which really annoys me. Anyway, so when you have something like Gatsby on the market, which does do $25 rush tickets if you're a student, and then when you have something like Outsiders on the market, will Heathers get the same attention? However much they're going to charge for it, which is going to be probably cheapest if they go on Broadway, they $40 for a rush ticket.
Which is insane anyways.
Guys, I was just looking at rush tickets. They're 25 over here, and I can get one from the comfort of my room in my uni city.
That was another piece of news we forgot to mention.
What was it?
London Theatre Week extended.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing those deals about. I'm very tempted to buy some tickets or something, just like
Yeah. My final thing before we move on
Oh
about
yeah, go
Heathers
ahead.
in the US is I do also worry that we're being
Mean.
not even mean, just like looking down on the US, like being
No.
like, oh, but will they understand this show is like satirical?
I think it means something like the context of a school shooting means something completely different over there, though.
I guess my thought
That's
is I'm
more.
more talking about like the critics of like who go to see the show are
They're
gonna
gonna
be like,
hate it.
yeah, like, oh, should we like be doing this? And
Yeah,
like in the context of how many school shootings. Whereas over here, that's not as big of an issue on critics' minds.
yeah.
Like, I don't think the general public of America, like the general theatre goer, is gonna sit down and walk out of Heathers and be like, in the climate of school shootings.
Should we tell you who is gonna say that? Jesse Green for the New York Times.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do wonder like how I actually never thought I'd see the day that Heathers went back to America.
I thought it was like done over there.
Yeah. I thought they might do a tour, but maybe probably not. Maybe a non-union tour. Um well, I have one last thought on Heathers. It is, yeah, I do the people who I've seen reacting with the most enthusiasm to the news are people around our age who remember the first time Heathers became popular, being like, oh, I get to see this now, rather than young kids being like, oh, Heathers, I've seen it on TikTok. Anyway, next up is a rumor, but it's been quite heavily reported. Is by our good friend Trisha Paytas. Of how many times we can find a random place to talk about Trisha Paytas. Because she does just pop up every so often.
Yeah.
So Britney Spears is rumored to be the narrator for the Joseph movie, but directed by John Chu of the Wicked movie. I think it could be good. It'll be fun. We'll have a good time. Let's just get this Wicked movies out first, and then we can talk about what he's going to do next. Next up, we've got Titanic to be playing the Criterion. They announced that they were coming to London, and I remember us having a conversation of is it going to go on West End or like to another palace kind of situation. And I think the Criterion is like a perfect middle ground for it to go.
Yeah. I think I really want to see it.
So
I think it's gonna do really well in the Criterion, especially it is on a limited run, isn't it?
yeah, it's meant to be only open for like 3 months.
I think that'll work well.
Yeah, I'm excited about Titanic.
I didn't realize I saw one of the posters for it, and I didn't. It says like nothing can stop Jack and Rose's love except Celine Dion.
Yeah,
And I don't know how I'd never seen that specific poster before.
yeah.
But oh my God, I need to see Titanic.
Have you seen? I'm guessing you've seen the clips on TikTok where Celine Dion's just
Yes.
talking to the audience.
Yes, I've seen the clips on TikTok. I need to actually sit in a theatre and watch Titanic.
I I've been hyped about Titanic since they announced it was coming. I'm very excited about Titanic. It's a perfect Christmas
Like,
show as well.
yeah, this is slightly off topic,
Yes,
but okay, it's about the actual Titanic.
oh, yes. I think I know what you're about to say, but yeah.
But it was so basically there's an expedition going down to the Titanic again, and they were looking at it and they're like, oh, the ship's disintegrating. It's been
Mm.
on the ocean floor for like 112 years.
Yeah,
We kind of guessed.
yeah.
But the way I first found out about number one, this expedition in general, and two, what they had found was from a TikTok video. And it was this woman, she was American, so I'm gonna do the accent.
Yeah,
And she
go.
was like, guys, it's the middle of the night, but we just got some news about the Titanic and it's bad. And
I
I was
literally
genuinely
saw that
sat there and I was like,
TikTok.
how, like, is it meant to be? What would the good news about the Titanic be? It's been plaguing me ever since. If someone said I have good news about the Titanic,
Oh, it sprung back to life.
like,
It's
what would that
floated back
be?
up to the surface. We
It's
found a
just,
we found a breed of person who survived and now they live underwater.
and truly, I think Titanic could answer the question, what is good news about the Titanic?
As someone who has only seen the Titanic, because I think it's like a bit parodying the movie, obviously, rather than the real
Yeah,
tragedy.
Jack and Rose.
Jack and Rose. They are real people, guys. I hate to break it to you. Yeah, Jack and Rose were found in the Titanic just chilling.
Yeah.
That's good news, Valid. As someone who has seen that movie once, and my two friends sat next to me were bawling their eyes out, and I was just sat there being like, it's a good movie, it's really fucking long. I feel like I'd enjoy Titanic.
I think it's such a good everything I've seen of it, that's so good.
Every
We've
time
got to see it.
we gotta see it. We've got to see it. Every
We're
time the
seeing
TikTok
so many shows this Christmas season.
I saw a ballet shoes poster when I was on the tube.
Yes.
It's like
I
it's like
love ballet shoes.
interesting. Nell's obviously the ballet shoes number one fan. You have to go
I
talk to her.
love ballet shoes.
Oh, Rogue, one of my friends is at a random off-Broadway play.
Oh, fun.
Go see Cats, the Jellicle Ball.
The Jellicle Ball.
Go see the Jellicle Ball, bitch. I wish you'd text me for theatre recommendations because I'd be able to get her to go see some stuff I'm really curious about and then tell her about them in detail. Anyway, moving on. Any last thoughts on Titanic other than we need to go?
No, we need to go.
We need to go.
That's kind of it.
I do think hearing someone impersonating Celine Dion singing singing "My Heart Will Go On" will cure me of something.
Not sure what yet, but
Not
something.
sure. Well, I'll decide nearer the time. You know, we're a bit
Depending on
far
how you're
out.
feeling.
Depending on how I'm feeling. Like, I think Great Comet will cure something in me, like very like existential. You know,
I think Great Comet will cure me full stop.
I keep forgetting that we're seeing Great Comet, and then I
It's
like,
crazy.
oh, guys, we're seeing Great Comet.
I was so excited.
I'm so excited. Anyway, the producers have announced something else we should probably go see over Christmas, but I don't know if we'll go.
Boring.
Being so real, I don't know if we're gonna go see the producers. The producers announced their further casting. They all look great. Joanna Woodward is in it, and I saw her in Time Traveler's Wife, which was not a good musical, but I thought she was decent.
Yeah.
Happy that she's working. Um,
I'll say this: if it was between Titanic and producers,
we're going to Titanic.
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 We're going.
We're going. Titanic. Because here's the thing with producers, I feel like I've seen all of the jokes before.
Yeah.
I also think Mincemeat has a lot of producers' vibes in it, unfortunately. Do you get what I mean when I say that, though?
A little.
Kiss Me Kate to be released in cinemas. I was debating going to see Kiss Me Kate next week, and then I was like, if it's going to be released in cinemas, I might not.
Go see Hello Dolly.
I'm
For
really
me.
close to going to see Hello Dolly. Do you want me to bootleg it for you if I go?
For me, yeah.
Yeah. I'll be on my
Yeah.
phone as Imelda Staunton's in front of me, texting you at everything she does.
Please do.
And then she goes downstage, and then she goes upstage, and then she does this.
And right now she's doing this.
Right now she's doing this. I might go see Hello Dolly. I'm really considering it. It's one of those ones that I feel like this is going to be the best production in my lifetime to go see, if that makes sense.
I really want to see it, and I know I'm not going to be able to, and I'm actually
Well,
distraught about
if
it.
if you're around next Thursday, let's go see it.
I'm not.
Oh
I'm not.
no.
You
Oh
know
no.
I'm not.
Oh my God, no, sorry about that. Sorry, that was a bit offensive of me. Well, I'm not in London for a good reason.
You're in London anyways, though.
I have to. I'm being forced against my will. Anyway,
But you get to see Hello Dolly, so
I might get to see Hello Dolly. Anyway, they always have rush tickets because that's the thing. I'm gonna be in a hospital
because they
waiting room.
love their fans.
I'm gonna be in a hospital waiting room. Don't worry, it's nothing serious. It's really fucking boring. I wish it was something a bit more interesting.
This May's dying.
I'm not dying, I promise. It's my fucking teeth. Um, anyway, moving on to something else. Zoe Roberts returns to Mincemeat. I love it when something happens with Mincemeat because all of a
I
sudden,
was
like,
watching it
yeah,
unfold
same.
last night as of recording this.
Yeah. I love it when something with Mincemeat happens because I can always tell because I get like a lot of like quote tweets from pages I can't see because I blocked.
It was crazy.
Mm.
I mean, it was really impressive for her
Oh
to
no, it
step
is.
in after like
Yeah.
months after she left
Mm.
and still be able to do the show. But I was like, you know, before we started recording, I was trying to figure out what happened because I was like, I feel like they had people on and then they changed who they had on.
And it was quite a late change. Like I remember it being like 2 p.m. that they announced it.
Yeah, it was like relatively soon before their show.
Yeah, and I think they have like an early curtain because I remember seeing people in the theatre at like 5 and being like, "What are you guys doing here?"
Mm.
But no, much love to influencers as always. I hope you guys had a good day yesterday. Now next up we've got two rumors. Some from sources that are sometimes right and some from a guy Nell saw on Twitter. So it's gonna happen. One being that Newsies is going on a tour. And wait, can you hear me? All right, okay, cool. Um, yeah, one that's Newsies is going on a tour. I will be interested to. I could see them going on a tour, but I'd be interested to see how they translate that production into being able to fit in the touring venues in the UK, or would they do non-traditional venues around the UK? Anyway, I'm very intrigued. I love that production of Newsies. Um, and also speaking of Wembley. Starlight Express has apparently been filmed for TV again. This is what some guy saw when he was there. It could just be them collecting footage.
It might be, but basically, someone on Twitter was like, "A little birdie told me they're filming Starlight Express for like TV release or something."
That sounds like quite an Andy move to make as well.
Exactly.
Um, you could tell me anything that they're doing that with that production of Starlight Express, and I'd be like, yeah, checks out. This is quite sad for me, but I saw it coming from a mile away. The Notebook's going to close in November, December.
It's like the 15th of December.
Yeah, I wasn't
Maybe
shocked.
earlier than that.
Yeah, I wasn't shocked when the announcement came because it's not been doing well at the grosses. However, I think the score is very good, and I think people are in like 10 years' time are going to be like justice for the Notebook in the same way we are about like Legally Blonde.
Mm, I think it's a really good show. I just think it wasn't quite the right time for it.
Yeah, 100%. Now this one made me chuckle. It made me chuckle. The next piece of news. Stop the arts protests happening at the Globe. I was like, okay, sure, that is something definitely worth protesting. But I guess we're giving them attention by talking about it here. I don't know. Obviously as a podcast we are for stopping the arts. But no, obviously it's very stupid.
It's just an especially ridiculous, like it feels staged. I truly think it's staged.
I
I don't know by
truly
who or anything, but
like
it's so
mischief.
ridiculous that it can't be real.
Like you know
And
that
then why the
company.
Globe?
Yeah. Why not like the TKTS booth in Leicester Square or something? Or like Jury
Or why
Lane
not
or
like
something.
your like Mischief? Why not do your own show? Because they do the play that goes wrong and stuff.
Yeah. Maybe it's someone who's just really bored one day.
That's the thing. I feel like it has to be real because it's so ridiculous. It feels fake, but nothing about it makes sense, which makes me think it has to be real.
Yeah. Interesting. We'll see how it plays out. I bet you it's just gonna be one of those things that kind of dies in obscurity.
Mm.
Um, Mamma Mia announced new casting for their like on the West End. Mamma Mia's only running West End. They have a I Have a Dream runner-up in the cast. I didn't watch I Have a Dream. I had intentions of watching it like later on, and then I just never did.
Yeah.
It's not as good or high camp as the original series were. They weren't as funny. But I had friends who watched it and they kept me informed. Anyway, let's get into
I'm
spelling
gonna go
bee.
to the toilet really quick.
Okay, cool. Let's get into spelling bee. Have you still got ice? It looked like you were eating ice for a second, and I was like, "There's no way that's not melted by now." Okay. So the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee is a musical with music and lyrics by William Finn and a book by Rachel Schenkin, and it was conceived by Rebecca Feldman. So Rebecca Feldman kind of grew up on 80s television and Broadway musicals, had acted from the age of 11 all the way through, and then she began to direct. So she took a break from like working in the business and started to work as a massage therapist. And in that time, she came up with the idea for The Farm, a collective of writers and performers committed to exploring the role of improvisation in the creation of new players. She fashioned a structure for collaboration. Each actor would come in with a few characters, and the group would have a process to interview the characters to decide which ones would work best in the world they were creating together. Then, working with the characters selected, Feldman would audio tape 3 to 4 improv sessions. Afterwards, she'd take the tapes home and type up scenes, adding details and wording to shape a storyline. In the spring of 2002, the group would put on a production of a spelling bee play called ICREPUSCULE. I don't know what word that actually is. Crepuscule?
School? I'll look it
Crepuscule?
up.
Yeah. A
It
full
means twilight.
interesting.
It's French.
Makes sense. It is a full production which followed in the autumn, retained some improvisation and a random selection of 6 audience members to participate in Spelling Bee, which made each performance unique. It succeeded downtown. Like it sold pretty well, and one of the cast members in that production would be Sarah Schultzberg, who was playing Logan, who got into the show because her friend Liz Feldman mentioned that her sister Rebecca was putting on a show about a spelling bee. Salzburg jumped at the idea. She was also co-produced that original show, and at the time, Salzburg was a nanny for Wendy Wierstein, who was a playwright best known for her long-running Pulitzer Prize-winning Heidi Chronicles and being like an overall like champion of theatre. So Wierstein would go see the show and think, this is good. It needs to do something after this, and it needs more life and form to it. With the decision being made to turn the play into a musical. With Wierstein sending a videotape of it to William Finn, who is obviously best known for writing like falsettos and at this point a new brain, but he hadn't really had a hit since falsettos. Who called up William Finn would call up Rebecca Feldman to invite her to go see the show. And what was needed, they agreed, was more words and a lot more music. So they would all go and visit William Finn's, and he loved the idea and found the characters like William Barthé interesting. He also responded to the show's notion of a random yet always uncanny apt fate. The Lisper keeps getting words like citrus, and Barthé keeps getting words like rambunctious. Barthé has a mucous membrane disorder. The story of the kids for whom the spelling competitions were an anecdote to Jim appealed for his love of Outcast and his sense of dramatic structure. It's like Survivor for the nerds, but these themes, however suggested, were only vaguely and haphazardly explored. The first thing I said when I agreed to write some music was that in musical theatre things change. Happy, unhappy. I can't predict what they're going to be, but things change. It was a warning about the material, but it also could be personal. He started to spot where songs could be, which, because of their guyness and goofiness, came from his uncharacteristic ease. Working a few feet away from his studio, almost invisibly ignoring the constant stream of phone calls and other conversations, Schenkin started fleshing out some of the characters whilst radically alterizing others, improving the thematic coherence to the material and finding ways to dramatize the backstory that was represented as videos in the downtown production. Generally, William Thin would say, turning an improvised free-for-all into a real play. In any case, they would have a winter workshop at in Burlington, Massachusetts, I believe. If there was a dog barking outside, I'm so sorry that you can hear it. It's not actually one of my dog's faults. At this point, they made some real big changes. So Rebecca Feldman had originally been playing a character in this show as well, called Beth McGirls, who would then evolve into Oliver Strotsky. Less sad and clumsy and more with a heart and story. Less sad, clumsy, and more to the heart of the story. A girl who, neglected by her absent, enlightenment-seeking mother and overburdened father, turns to the dictionary for solace and company. Because of this, the character really needs to sing, and William Finn's vocal writing was more tricky than it sounds. And by the time the show was presented for a commercial run at Barrington, Feldman had been replaced by Celia Keenan Bolger, but she was still the co-director. So an interesting note that I have here is that, like, I didn't see as much as I expected to, but some of the language that was originally used to talk about these children is now a bit outdated, if you get what I mean when I'm saying that.
Kind of.
Like, the word that was originally used when talking about the previous version of Olive was spaz.
Ah.
Yes, which I changed because I don't really like that word.
Yeah.
And so quite early on, I was like, oh, I wonder how many times I'm going to read a sentence and go, that would not fly today. Especially when I watched the reviews. But weirdly enough, that was the only place. But you know what I mean when I say I kind of expected at a certain point just to see a lot more words that were
It is
outdated.
one of those. I've been rewatching House, which is one of my favorite TV shows ever.
Yep.
But it is very much a product of its time.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, House as a character is a dick to everyone, that's his bit. But even the characters who are meant to be, like, really good, or even in scenes where they're not meant to be being, like, dicks, they'll just say something that's like, oh yeah, this is 2004.
Yeah, I mean, this was literally, like, early...
This is a while ago.
Yeah. And, like, even, like, today, I was like, but I'll get to this in our thoughts. For how, like, I think about Avenue Q, because Avenue Q was a year before Spelling Bee. Avenue Q, as it stands, that original Broadway production, has aged pretty poorly.
Yeah.
The comedy is not great, but I was thinking about Spelling Bee, and I was like, if I had to rewrite it, what would be the first thing that I decided had to go? And I was like, there's nothing that immediately springs to my mind. I'm sure if I sat down and really thought about it, there would be a couple of wordings that probably need to be changed. But overall, it's pretty consistent.
I think the thing with, and not to sound like a kind of, right-wing comedian or anything, but I do think it is harder to write comedy these days.
It's harder to do the certain type of comedy Spelling Bee wants to do these days.
More specifically, Avenue Q.
Yeah, 100%.
Because Avenue Q is kind of the same kind of thing as, like, again, houses. I've got a house on the mind.
Nell's always got a house on the mind, guys.
We've always got a house on the mind. I might not talk about it that much, but it's only because I've been spending the past week watching it for like 6 hours a day, going to work, coming home, watching it, going to bed, watching it for 6 hours a day, going to work.
She's not even been on TikTok, just watching House.
I genuinely, like, Esme will try to contact me. I'm like, can't watch in house. I bought
I
DVD box sets. I have two DVD box sets of House right now. I have
I
season
think
one and season
I
6.
think over the past couple of days I've sent you like 10 TikToks, which actually isn't that many. But now I've just seen none of them because she was just busy watching House.
I was like really into watching House.
Um, so
Um,
if you're ever wondering what Nell's thinking about, it's either
but yeah,
Phantom of
I
the
mean
Opera,
like
House, or Hades.
Phantom, House, Hadestown, Tongue Everlasting
Talking
sometimes.
about saying
I actually have a lot of interest. I'm a very complex person.
boats.
Um, Boats, always boats.
If anyone would like to reach out to Nell and have conversations about any of these, she'll be happy to oblige.
Please.
Anyway,
I
what are we
am
saying about
single.
House? This is your
If
mini
these
dating
interest you
pro.
as well. Yeah, just putting it out there.
Putting it out there. Do you also like long walks to the beach?
Yeah,
Yeah, you actually do.
to look at the boats.
Look at the when I came back from Nice, I told Nell about this beach I was on where you could look at boats and planes at the same time.
Oh, the
It was great.
dream.
I loved that beach. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying about House?
Um, like while none of it is, you can tell none of it is made with the intention to offend,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's there's a lot of it that is offensive.
Yes.
And a lot of that comes from just words being outdated, jokes being like, oh, you probably shouldn't make fun of someone like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the same way that like everyone's a little bit racist sometimes is kind of outdated. And it's the
Yes.
kind of song that I'm like, you could not write and release this today.
Like, you could not do the character of Christmas Eve today.
But Christmas Eve as a character is not a character that needs to be like retconned in any
No.
performance.
No. I mean, at the
She's still a
reunion concert, they're
fine,
doing it as written.
yeah. Like it's a little weird. It's a little bit like, but it's not bad enough to be like, holy fuck, retcon this.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
have to with some things.
Yeah.
But I think that's how I feel about a lot of these kind of comedy musicals from the early 2000s.
Mm.
That they're not bad or like even controversial. They're just like, oh, it has been 20 years.
Yeah. Like, your age is showing a bit, girl.
Yeah. Like, come on, Grandpa. Let's calm down a bit.
Like, yeah, we can tell you wrote this in the Bush administration, guys.
Yeah.
I feel that way a lot more about Avenue Q than I do Spelling Bee. But there was a moment because I read the script for Spelling Bee this week. Because I wanted to work out when they like do audience participation, like how much of it is still improvised. And I'll get to that when we talk about our thoughts. But there was one like skit which I was like vaguely aware of where I was like, yeah, this was written during the Bush administration.
Which one? Hold on, I'm gonna
The
look it
one
up.
where God appears.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know exactly what I'm on about. When God appears and there's the girl with two gay dads who's half Jewish. I was like, yeah, Bush administration times.
Yeah. I'm looking at the script. On
It's so
Microsoft
interesting.
Word.
It's so interesting, the script. I swear it was completely legal the way I found it. On my side, on the one I was looking up, it was 58. No, it was a bit before that. It was 55. Jesus appears. So while you look up Jesus in spelling bee, keep going.
It is so
all...
crazy. It's just the camouflage. To herself, Jesus, can't you come up with a harder word than that? Jesus, from off stage. Of course I can, my child. Suddenly Jesus is.
Suddenly, that's Jesus.
Marcy, I knew you were Asian. Hi.
Spelling bee.
It's crazy.
Spelling Bee is a nuts show, and it has no reason being that nuts. The audience and critical responses were really positive to that run. That in the competition immediately ensured which New York non-for-profit theatre would get to import the show to an off-Broadway run. Playwrights Horizons, Lincoln Center Theatre, and Manhattan Theatre Club, and the Public Theatre, and Second Stage all had connections to one of the authors. Several actively tried to court them. Clearly, there were hopes of Spelling Bee becoming one of these institutions that Avenue Q had become from the Vineyard Theatre, a small-scale crowd pleaser that could transfer to Broadway and bring in a long-term cash cow. Carol Rothman, artistic director of Second Stage and a friend to Mr. Finn since he was producing the musical In Trousers in 1981, saw Spelling Bee at Bellington and immediately decided to begin pleading. I knew I was going to have to fight tooth and nail, she said. Everything short of sending my children in on their hands and knees. Actually, I did send my son in. I used every single thing I could think of. Resourceful gal. It would pay off for her. Since she would say, I will do the stadium-style auditorium for the show to allow easy audience access to performers who are in many ways stars of the show, to volunteers, sorry. And she would also put the show in the schedule immediately, which seemed important because the musical version of the documentary Spellbound, which is about, I think I've seen clips of it, which is about kids going to the Spelling Bee Champion in Washington, D.C., was reportedly in the works from Disney Theatrical. In any case, William Finn accepted the offer on one condition. James Lapine, who had directed several of Mr. Finn's musicals, would be brought aboard again. Again, this meant that Rebecca Feldman had gone from writing the show, starring in the show, directing the show, to now just having the conceived by credit, with her saying, I wasn't really interested with the Carol Rothman who agreed to this change. I wasn't really interested in what the history was. I was interested in its future. Rebecca Feldman would say, I don't want to get into the crazy details because this was my baby and I kind of became a surrogate mother, as if it was like, okay, these are your new parents, Rachel and Bill. I'll be there breastfeeding, but they're in charge. And it was a hard transition, and I really wanted to see my baby grow up and be a big girl, so I had to let it happen. But yes, it was a very strange experience. I can imagine going from being so involved in it to almost being abstracted out, being quite weird.
Yeah.
But I also appreciated her honesty.
I like that you can really tell.
Yeah.
Nice, finish.
Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Finish what you were saying.
Oh, I thought you said you were gonna finish. I like her honesty. Instead of just being like, yeah, it's great, William Finn is a great director, he's such a legend, I'm honoured to have him do my work, to being like, no, it kind of sucks. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
I just think you can really tell how much it started as a kind of improv thing.
Yeah.
Because it does very much seem like everything comes across as being played by ear.
Yeah.
It's very much like, I want to direct this. This is my show. Yeah. But it works better if someone else is.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore someone else is directing it.
Yeah.
And then just everything with the changes in the characters and the actual content.
Yeah. So it opened off-Broadway in February of 2005. The New York Times would say, can you spell irresistible? Drat, I meant irresistible. Yay or nay is precisely the word for the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, the unlovably consequential, entirely adorable new musical that opened last night. A modest production that, unlike many today's musicals, feels professionally handcrafted rather than manufactured by a committee and market-tested. Spelling Bee, which brings to stage the culture's current mania for celebrating the most received of American values, the will for victory, but the television's competitive reality shows shamelessly exploit viewers' queasy delight in watching the fur fly, and the pleasures of watching Spelling Bee are gentler in spirit. The musical pokes fun at its twitchy teen contestants, the loopy spirit of the movies The Walking for Government and Best in Show, but still affectionately pays tribute to these quirky young spelling titans too. It sweetly, if a little sentimentally suggests that the youngsters' inclination into the rigors of competition is at once a little excruciating, trite rites of passage, and crucible for character building. Indeed, Spelling Bee has a few snaggy stretches as we head into the finals. Each of the participants is somewhat dutifully appointed their small emotional or moral epiphany, and the enjoyably goofy atmosphere must make way for some earnest attempts to tug at our heartstrings. The musical can't hope to match the moving honesty of the documentary movie Spellbound, but it never slides wholesale into after-school special territory. How could it, after all? When the winner must be crowned and the losers must withdraw, choking back their tears, although you know full well that the ending is scripted and thus preordained. No, audience members did not have a serious shot at the trophy. It is hard not to get caught up in the sweaty spirit of competition. In this and some other respects, the musical is uncanny. Recalls another now classic that also dissects the joys and despairs of ruthless competition. Spelling Bee is, in essence, a chorus line with pimples. The chorus line comparison at first I thought was wild. I was like, what the hell? That's so weird. And then I sound forward about it for a second. I was like, actually, it might be on something there. It would open at Circling the Square Theatre on the 2nd of May 2005 after 21 previews. So, the New York Times would say about it in this carnation: in a long, exhausting reality show formerly known as Life, which cannot be traversed with the aid of TiVo, there are peaks and there are valleys. Qualifying as traditional high points are weddings, children's birthdays, career triumphs, the day you bought those jeans that actually flatter. Adolescence in its entirety is generally considered prime valley material. And yet, a taste of life's glory is not outside of reach, even in this miniature eccentrics and their equally odd competitors. Mousy Oliver Strolsky, the permanently flushed Leaf Coney Bear, and Chip Tolentino, Boy Scout, who has just earned his badge for raging hormones. A trophy from the Spelling Bee might not carry the same social cachet as the homecoming queen's tiara, but small victories are a must. Are the best most of us can hope for in this life, right? In any case, it's the more private but enduring triumphs, the connections finally made with a member of the opposite sex, the discovery of a previously unknown pockets of self-esteem that are really being celebrated in Spelling Bee, which itself is graduated from honours from the local competition to the divisional championships. The happy news for this happy-making little show is that to move to larger quarters has displaced none of its quirky charm. In fact, the musical has managed to make lemonade of one of Broadway's most lemony spaces. The dreary basement of Circling the Square has. Come to think about it, it resembled a cinderlock of nightmares of a prefab junior high slapped together in the 1960s, plastering it with preppy posters promoting the French Club and plaques commemorating mock achievements of the show's creative team. Set designer Beryl for it invests in an antiseptic space with cheesy walls. The theatre itself, in its rows of narrowly skeeved, raked seats layered like bleachers on three sides, is cleverly been transformed into a mock gymnasium, with its basketball court sliced in and scuffed on wooden floor. Spelling Bee is not extravagant in its aims, but lives up to its goal in a way that the season's bigger, glitzier, and more ambitious musicals mostly don't. Gold stars all round. Variety would say it's hard to imagine a sweeter vindication for all the brainiac pariahs doomed throughout their school years to nerd status than the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. And it's especially sweet that William Finn's delightful musical about the awkward path to adulthood has been negotiated the transition to Broadway in all modesty and charms intact. In fact, rather than interpret the move from off-Broadway as a mandate to pump up the size and slickness, the show's creatives have shewed and natured its low-tech, idiosyncratic spirit in refreshing ways, making the resource of their new home at Circling the Square. Logan, I could never say that character's name. Logan.
Oh God.
It's something. It's like Logan, but not quite. Logan Head.
I've now suddenly blanked entirely on how to say her name.
You know exactly what I'm on about, though.
Yeah. Fuck, they say it in the
They say it in the recording. Well,
when.
I
Hold
want to
on, I'm
say
looking it up.
early. I want to say early. At the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee.
Oh, I found it.
Yeah. Yeah, because they do the introduction of all of the characters.
They do just say Logan.
Oh, it's just spelled funny.
I really did think they
I
said it
really did
weird.
think, oh, it's her
In
last
my
name.
mind, I was like, do they say it like Logain?
I could see them doing that the entire show, and it actually not. Oh, it's her last name that's really funny to pronounce as well.
Because it's just two last names.
Yeah, it's Logan Schwartz and Gruben. Hey,
Schwartz and Grubener.
almost got it right. I'm going to take that as a win. Um, the paradox of increased intimacy in the large theatre with respect to the show's original home beneath the second stage proscenium serves a material splendidly in terms of strengthening our investment of these misfit characters who emerges to excel in the spelling bee echoes deeper yearnings. Logan wants to please her two demanding gay dads. Leaf wants to measure up intellectually to his smartest siblings. Overachieving Marty wants freedom to be less superhuman. Chip wants to explore his hyperactive libido. The promiscuous and prosad William wants to be liked, and Olive ceases
Pompous
to
and porcine.
pompous and porcine. I've never heard these two words before. I'm gonna look them up.
You've heard pompous.
Oh, I've heard pompous, but porcine I've
To
not
be
heard.
pompous.
I know what pompous
Porcine?
is. Porcine. And Olive craves a release from the solitude and the love of her distanced parents. I am just going to quickly look up proceed. Proceed meaning of affecting or resembling pigs.
Okay.
The gentle refinements of which Lapine and book writer Rachel Feldman nudge to profligacy amid the hilarious poignancy, amid the hilarious comedy of these kids' story. All of them except Olive, skillfully played by a talented cast of exaggerated caricatures, now seem more skillfully balanced. It is synopsis time. As the synopsis when you're ready.
I've not heard a word you've just said, if you've said anything.
Sorry. It's synopsis time. There's the synopsis when you're ready. Highlighted, sorry.
Grab a DICTIONARY and welcome to Spelling Bee. This heartfelt musical follows a group of wonderfully unique and impassioned adolescents as they compete for the Bee Championship. Featuring a thrilling score by William Finn, the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee is a joyful night of comedy and quirk that celebrates the pursuit of victory and the gift of being true to oneself.
That's Spelling Bee.
I'm actually not entirely sure if I read out dictionary right. DICTIONARY.
Yeah, that's how you spell dictionary, which I wouldn't be able to do off the top of my head, so well done. Where do I want to start with Spelling Bee? It's still, having looked at the script briefly, it's still very improvised. Like, when you buy the rights to Spelling Bee, there's still a lot of moments where you have complete free reign to do whatever within reason.
Yeah, it's a ton of the stage directions are like ad-lib here. Yeah. It's like there's one I'm looking at right now, which is Schwartzy, saying this bee is about as well organized as, and seeing an opportunity, she goes to the microphone and makes a political speech. The speech is rewritten at least weekly, a topical ad-lib.
Yeah.
And then weekly ad-lib about interruption. For example, this bee is archaic as the conclave process. You know, I've been reading about our new Pope, Pope Benedict, and as progressive, half-Jewish, biracial child of two gay fathers, I don't believe this Pope has my best interest in mind. And it's like, genuinely, I don't think you could go more than like 10 pages max without getting like an ad-lib.
Yeah. I mean, it's even down to sometimes some of the words that they pick. It's like, pick a word of this difficulty. Here's some examples, but you can use your own.
Yeah, it's stuff like as well when the audience volunteers are introduced. It has a little bit about them, which is like, oh, they've been coached beforehand.
Yeah.
And it's basically just every time, like, don't act. Every time you have to ask for the definition and to use the word in a sentence.
Yeah.
But you can really tell how much of it is fully improvised.
And also, like, because of that, it is because one thing that people always say about theatre is like no two performances are ever the same. And yeah, that is true, but it's down to like the minute details. And sometimes, like, if
Mm,
something happens in the audience, or if someone's making their debut, or if like there are certain swings and understudies on, then yeah, it's a different performance than the night before. But as a whole, the words are normally said the same, you know?
yeah.
Like the story is still the same, the jokes are still the same. With spelling bee, that is not the case. Every single performance is different.
Like,
Because
Rona's introductory comments often use observable facts about the volunteer, what they're wearing, who they look like, or something about their name to make fresh jokes each performance, ad-libbed by actors playing the roles of Rona and Panchi each night.
yeah,
Based on guidelines that have developed over many shows, the list also includes standbys that are not type specific.
yeah. I
The
think
first audience the first audience volunteer is given a word we do expect them to spell correctly, often jihad. The
again, your
ideal
Bush
word is
administration
one,
is showing.
yeah, the ideal word is one the speller will get right, but still seems smart in doing so. After definition and sentence given, volunteer generally gets this right and is applauded by cast and audience. And then you call the second volunteer. The second volunteer is given a word we expect them to get wrong.
Yeah.
However, if first audience volunteer has been eliminated, second volunteer is given an easy word, e.g., indignant, to try and ensure that the three audience volunteers remain. Whenever first audience volunteer gets out, the bell rings and company sings goodbye variation one, which is like, because that seems so complex.
Yeah.
Like being like, oh, if this has happened, then like then this needs to happen, but if it hasn't happened, then this happens. When in reality, it's saying we need to make sure three audience volunteers remain after this round.
Mm-hmm.
So give the first one a stupid word that is like semi-smart but easy to
Mm.
spell. The second one, an impossible word to spell, and like so forth, until you have enough volunteers left.
Yeah. And
And while you're doing that, also ad lib and make up comments about them every night.
make up funny observations about them every night. And I mean, even Schwartz's speech, political speech, that's got to be hard to do every night, every week. What's something funny in the news that I can suddenly rant about for a couple of minutes on stage? And I mean, I'm sure there's some weeks where there's so much going on where you're like, oh, I can talk about this, this, then this. But then there are probably some weeks where it's like nothing's fucking happened.
Oh my God, the volunteer three word is usually Mexican.
Yeah.
And then the definition you get given is a resident of Mexico, or an American slang term for anyone from Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, South America, or Spain. Sentence, e.g., potato chips, the Mexican lettuce. There is some ad-lib grumbling when we hope the volunteer gets it right.
But you need the volunteers to for the show to work, for the show. Because you don't get Pandemonium is the song that the actual spellers sing in reaction to the volunteers getting shit easy words.
Panchicle's audience volunteer for ridiculously easy word. How?
Yeah.
Properly coached volunteer goes on to ask for sentence and definition. Definition, it means a cow. Sentence, please spell cow. In the unlikely and unfortunate event that cow is misspelled, a version of the goodbye would be sung, and then Chip would go right into pandemonium. Pandemonium.
Because on the recording it's telephone. Your question is telephone.
God, I really like seeing, because I always forget that obviously the audience volunteers aren't just all in one big batch and then it goes back to the actors.
Yeah, they're there the entire show basically.
Yeah. When does the last one get out?
I think right before the final three. And there's this famous story of once I think they're doing it in LA. And there was a bit they had the like actual reigning spelling bee champion come on stage as a guest speller. And they just could not get that motherfucker out. So the show went on for an extra half an hour.
Jesus.
And in the end, the stage manager was like, "You guys have got to wrap this up." And so they gave her like a word and then just told her she was wrong when she wasn't.
Was it like luck, or did they purposefully get
Yeah, they had
the
to
reigning champ?
purposely. Oh, I think it was probably like a publicity bit
That'd be so funny.
because they have famous people do it. I have a list of famous people that they've had be guest spellers.
Which I guess makes sense, but I thought it was like They got just random volunteers, and one of them just happened to be radio, which would have been hilarious.
After the show, one of them was like, "Yeah, I'm actually like the reigning champ, guys."
When does the last volunteer get out?
I think it's quite late in the show.
I feel like I've gone, and I hate to say this, but like before or after
But I love the
my
show.
unfortunate erection.
I think it's after.
But I don't think so. It's right
Okay.
before.
Oh, is it right before?
Word given to last remaining audience volunteer. Volunteer is told there is no known definition. Audience member usually spells the word correctly, i.e., unless their answer is entirely implausible, they are retained, to the great surprise of Punch and Rona. Amazed at the volunteer's good spelling. E.g., following is from Jay Rice's instructions to volunteers and his own special made-up word, pathogens. When asked for the definition, that definition is unknown. It exists in the oral tradition. Seems to be an old Nantucket whaling term. There is one written citation. Use in a sentence as though making it up. The neap tide is upon us. The Leviathan nears. Pathogens. Then, unless the audience volunteer radically misspells phonetically, they are kept in to the great surprise of Rona and Punch. Same volunteer is immediately called again. He/she is given a conspicuously, preferably ridiculous, difficult word. Mitch rises before spelling even begins and looms nearby. After bell, Mitch comes out, put arms around last volunteer, and sings to him or her. My friend, you will be missed. Blah, blah, blah,
I
blah, blah.
love the inclusion of Mitch Mahoney.
Yeah.
Yours.
But that's crazy late. I do think, however, that for a very long time I hated doing improv. I still kind of do. I think
Same.
most theatre kids for a
Hate
while
improv.
hate doing improv.
I knew a couple of
genuine-
people growing up who loved it, and I thought they were freaks.
Yeah. I think especially when you're doing it in like a school setting,
Yeah.
when it's like, oh well, you can't get it wrong. Like anytime I've done improv for fun, like when I did it in drama group,
Yeah.
when we were just like, yeah, okay, fuck it. Here's an idea. Let's just run with it for as long as we can to fill up a scene. I've had fun with it.
Yeah.
But it's when you're doing it in school and it's like, oh fuck, I need to get this right.
It's like I need to make people laugh, and I have to be cool while doing it, so it can't be too weird.
It can't be too weird. I have to be kind of serious.
Yeah.
But you know, it also has to be like good. And do I want to take it funny or do I want to take it serious? And way too many people did like serious improv in school. It's just like this isn't what it's about.
No.
All that to say that basically the second I saw 25th Putnam County Spelling Bee.
Yeah.
Spelling Bee. I think that was what made it click for me of like, oh, improv is Spelling Bee, seeing Spelling Bee for the first time. Entirely legally, of course.
Obviously,
always. Just kind of made me realize that, like, oh, improv is fun. Like seeing the volunteers go up on stage and someone being able to look at them and make a joke just based off what they look like.
Yeah.
And then being able to react to like what they're saying when they're answering the spelling questions. And just shit like that. Like it's not the improv is in the grand scheme of things a relatively small part of the show. Like even though it's pretty common, like we were saying, like you can't go more than 10 pages max in the script without seeing ad lib here, say something here. The ad libs are like 1 or 2 lines. Or being like, oh, in the background they're chatting about something, ad lib.
Also, the thing I never understood about improv when I was younger, and I was told this, was it's a skill. Improv's a skill. And the more you do it, the more you force yourself to do it, the better you become. And so I guess if you're doing Spelling Bee 8 times a week, you must just be like so automatic with it.
The other thing that took me almost an embarrassingly long time to like click was the idea of like yes and.
Yeah.
Because obviously it is ridiculous to be like yes and, but it is genuinely a good like starting point if you're trying to get into improv. Like that bit about if they like this volunteer gets given a made up word, they
Yeah.
spell it vaguely phonetically,
hmm
and suddenly you have to be like, oh my God, yes, and they got it right.
hmm
Like, yes, and here's now another word that you have to get wrong.
Yeah. Because it's again that automatic thing of your brain going, okay, they've just done that. I have to do that. But like I have to do something with what they've just done, but take it further.
Mm.
But at a certain point you just have to learn to trust your instincts.
I think it is a lot of people, myself included, find it very easy to improv within the confines of a scene. Like if
hmm
you say the start of the scene is this, like we are in a park, and by the end of the scene, we have to be having a fight at the entrance to the park.
Yeah.
And no matter what you say, it has to make each other angry,
Mhm.
and you have to be able to move.
Yes.
So even if that's like a joke argument,
hmm
and halfway through when you realize, oh shit, we've been sitting on this fake park bench for like 20 minutes. So you can
hmm
say, no, I'm not going to listen to this. I'm standing up and walking away. Don't follow
hmm
me.
hmm
Like, even that, as stupid as it sounds to just say out loud, you're moving the scene. Like, you're getting it to go. It's just when it's open ended. So I don't know why I'm giving like fucking improv advice in this. Just go watch 25th
Just go
Spelling
watch
Bee.
Spelling Bee. They are
Go watch
truly
Spelling Bee.
masters at it, and it
They
makes
got it.
complete and total sense that only because Spelling Bee is such a unique musical because normally musicals are planned out to the second.
Mm,
There is no variation. I mean, it's not like the fucking Eras tour where it's like, what surprise song am I going to get tonight? What costume am I going to get tonight? It's like, no, it always stays the same. There are never any changes. Sometimes the costume will change here and there, but normally, like, it's a long time coming.
mm,
Hadestown changed two of the lyrics to the end of two of its songs. And it was like a big change that happened for a production that was opening in London. So almost to have this musical where everything's changing all of the time is really impressive.
it's really like in the simplest way I can talk about Spelling Bee is just being like, it's really cool.
Yeah. Also, like, one of the things that the reviews kept saying, because they didn't really harp too much on the improv aspect of it,
Mm,
they were more like, it's funny, it's objectively hilarious. However, everyone feels a bit too cartoonish. When I was thinking about it,
yeah.
I was like, okay, so even your ensemble pieces, because Spelling Bee's an ensemble piece, it's only like there's only six people in the cast, and all of the actors also play other roles, even if it's just for a second.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, they all play other roles. But yet there are still people like obviously in my mind, Olive is almost the heart of the show in a lot of ways.
mm,
I mean, looking at it playing numbers wise, she is she's the only kid with two songs, right?
yeah.
Because I mean, I know William has the reprise of Magic Foot, but it's just the same song again. Whereas Olive
Mm,
has My Friend the Dictionary, which has the great line, and I heard that she's pro-choice though still a virgin, which is just fun. And then obviously the very famous I Love You song. And let me just say, William Finn, you really popped off with that one.
that was a good song. That one was good.
I see what you did there. And Olive, yeah, Olive's the heart of the show. I'll say that. She's the heart of the show. She's the underdog because she walks in one late. It's almost like it's almost like Bake Off.
I guess.
You know what I mean though when I say it's almost like Bake Off? Like in the same way that when Gemma walked on stage, I was like, oh okay, she's our protagonist.
Mm,
In the same way that when Olive walks on stage and she's late, she's the new girl, and she doesn't have the entrance money because her dad's ignoring her.
yeah, it's very, oh yeah, this is our underdog. This is our girl.
And the rest of the kids are kind of assholes as well. Like,
Was it Chip? He was like, do you remember me from Nationals last year?
yeah,
I was just like, I only remember the top 10.
Marcy Park's like, I only remember the top 10. I don't speak to
Like
anyone below that.
icon, first of all.
And the rest of the kids' songs are like I think Marty's is literally like, I speak 6 languages.
Yeah.
Whilst, yeah, there is some like sadness to that of like, I am so overworked. There's also like a smugness of it. I'm a champion in boxing, but I always am the best. I'm like the lowest weight in my class. I speak 6 languages. I can play Mozart. Look how great I am.
It's very, there's something like underneath it of being like, oh, maybe there's like something wrong with this girl.
Yeah.
But like in contrast, all of Olive's songs are like front and center. She's like, I am fucked up.
She's literally like, I just want my mum to come and like say that I can go with her. And maybe if I win the spelling bee, I'll get her attention. And then who is it? Oh my god, what's Logan's song called? I always forget, but it's actually a really good song.
Oh fuck.
I'm getting it up. Woe is me.
Mm.
And he's like, it is a bit sad again. I think it's like what William Finn is actually best at almost being able to balance the comedy with the sadness and like having this deep level of pathos throughout it.
Mm.
Because woe is me is like, yeah, I have 2 gay dads who love me very dearly. However, they're a bit annoying. Like when she says, America hates losers. Kids are mean, kids will talk. Yeah. She's just kind of like, again, her issues are kind of treated as quite superficial. Like, oh no, her parents love her so much that they put a lot of pressure on her.
It's very much if you have a favorite character in this show, there is something. But it's the same way if you are playing any character in this show,
Yeah.
there's something to like have underneath the like very surface level stuff.
No, I get what you mean, yeah.
But I think, and to be fair, like joking about being like, oh, Olive's the main character from the second she walks in, you can joke about, but it's very hard to do anything else.
Yeah.
Like it's very hard to make a truly ensemble show.
I mean, even something like Come From Away, which is an ensemble show, they still have Beverly Bass's moment.
Mm. I think Come From Away does it best.
Yes, I will
Like
say
there's
that.
not really like I could argue that pretty much any one of those characters is the main character.
Yeah.
But I think in most other ones it makes, and I think the reason for that is because it's so contained.
Yeah.
They're all going through the same thing. They're all in the same place. There's
Exactly.
no reason to have like 50 different stories.
Yeah.
So no, that's not what I want to say. You can have 50 different stories and Come From Away
Yeah.
because you can devote equal time to all of them by having them in the same scenes.
Yeah.
In anything else, one story has to take the lead.
Yeah, there has to be something that we're rooting for.
Yeah, because eventually something has to drive the plot along.
Especially like in a competition setting.
Mm.
Like we have to be rooting for one of these kids to succeed.
Because otherwise there's no stakes.
No.
And just from the very beginning being like, oh, she can't even afford the entrance fee.
Yeah.
We're like, well, we want this girl to win.
We want this girl to win. And then by giving her the I Love You song, which is the best song in the show, let's be real here.
Yeah, let's not mince words. Let's not beat around the bush. Best song in the show.
When they all start overlapping and just saying "I love you," and the way that they set her up for that with the word, which means wildly fanciful and highly unrealistic, and she's saying that as her parents are saying "I love you."
I could write essays about the song.
Sometimes, guys, you don't need big words to describe a very particular feeling.
Yeah.
And
I think to be honest, like not to try and like finish this early or anything.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an actual ton to say on Spelling Bee that hasn't already been said.
How much more do I actually have to say? A couple. I like 2 more things I want to say, but yeah.
But you get what I mean. Like,
I get exactly what you mean.
Reviews have said everything, and I can't put it as well as a review can.
Yeah.
We've said the kind of that it's good for improv, it's fun to watch. I think it's a very good show.
Oh, objectively, yeah.
But I also think, and this is going to sound really mean, and it kind of is mean.
Yeah.
But I also think it was always going to be overshadowed by Avenue Q.
Yes. Yes.
Like, no matter how
yes.
good it is, and it is a really good show,
I prefer Spelling Bee over Avenue Q.
If it came down to it, I would rather watch Spelling Bee over
Yeah.
Avenue Q. But at the end of the day, you would always think like if I told you to think comedy musical early 2000s,
Uh-huh.
you'd say Avenue Q
You'd say
over Spelling
Avenue Q over Spelling Bee. One last thing I'd like to say. You can really see its age in something like My Unfortunate Erection.
Bee. Oh
That's the
yeah.
moment where you can tell its age the most.
I'm gonna look
And
up the lyrics.
it's very Avenue Q then. And I hate to say it, it is very Avenue Q. And I am going to talk about Avenue Q again when we talk about the Tonys because it was the Tony season. It was the Tony season after Avenue Q won the Tony. And I love the 2005 Tonys. I didn't realize how many opinions I had on the 2005 Tonys until I sat down to do this. And I was like, oh fuck, I have so many opinions. Um, Also, this was like Celia Keenan Bolger and her Broadway debut, and it was Jessie Tyler Ferguson's second Broadway show.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, Mitch from Modern
Crazy
Family.
cast.
Mitch. And the entire time I was putting this together, I was just thinking, fuck it, let's rank the Keenan Bolgers.
It's such a good Broadway beat
My
like article.
favorite Broadway the article. Fuck it, let's rank the Keenan Bolgers.
Every time they tweet it out, I get a little chuckle out of it.
I laugh and I like it. Oh, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, Josh Gad was also a replacement William Barthé.
Crazy.
I know, it's crazy some of the people that they got to be in Spelling Bee. Are you still looking into the lyrics of
No, no.
Yeah. Anyway. So shall any last thoughts before we move on to the Tony Awards?
I really like Spelling Bee. I think
I
it's a
do really
really,
like it.
really good show.
And I love the fact that there is a musical that was improvised that much that was able to make it to Broadway.
Yeah.
That's not
I
something that really happens.
It's genuinely what made me like improv, which is very hard to do.
Yeah.
Most people
Improv's
don't like improv.
improv's a bitch.
Improv's a bitch. But it's just when you see it like done right,
Yeah.
it's very much that, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah, it's that thing of like, oh, I actually don't mind this thing. I've just been seeing that. What?
The weather's getting shit.
You're obviously buzzing about it, aren't you?
Why did you look out of your window?
Because I
Like,
wanted
be
to
so
see.
for real with me
I
right now.
wanted to see if it because it was blue skies this morning, and I was thinking it's gonna rain at some point today, and I wanted to see whether or not it was raining yet.
It's gonna rain here all day tomorrow. Yes.
Nell is a autumn lover.
It's not even that, it's just because I have work and I want it to be dead.
Oh my God, it must be dead in the winter.
Oh yeah. We've
Must be
put up,
great.
I can tell you this, I won't say where I work,
Yeah, no.
but it's dead. We're about to go bankrupt, for reference. You can figure out where I work from that.
Are you
Um,
absolutely buzzing?
yeah. But we have put up our Christmas decorations at the door,
Oh, nice.
being like, make your Christmas bookings now. Don't.
Why would anyone book to go like on Christmas Day, or is it like Christmas Eve or like around that time?
I think just in December.
Oh, okay, like Christmas parties.
It's horrid. I mean, I guess maybe for like bottomless brunch and stuff,
Yeah.
but my God. Anyways, I'm waiting to hear
Anyways.
back from another job. So
Nell can slag them off all she likes. Also, not saying the company
the
name.
second I actually like leave, I'm saying the company name.
We're gonna do a special episode on the podcast where Nell just is mean.
I'm just gonna say like, do not eat at
Here.
this company.
Tony Awards. The 2005 Tony Awards, they would be nominated for Best Musical, Best Direction of a Musical, Best Performance for a Featured Actor for Dan Folger, Best Performance by Featured Actress in a Musical for Celia Keenan Bolger, Best Score and Best Book. Personally, again, it's a banger year. But the 5 Best Musical nominees are Spamalot, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Oh, it's actually 4. Spamalot, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, The Light in the Piazza, and Spelling Bee all going up against each other. Obviously, I have my front runners. Obviously, it's Piazza and Spelling Bee are my front runners. But the Tony Awards had their own front runners, with them saying the model for Bee's win last year was last year's big upset. Little Old Avenue Q beating the big bad Wicked. Whilst it might seem like as if history might repeat itself, but the majority of voters still think that Spamalot will carry the day. There's too much momentum to deny, one Tony handicaptor said, mentioning Spamalot's $27 million advance and their steady press coverage. The underdog sounds great, but I don't think it will play out. Still, everyone said that the blockbuster would win last year, and it didn't. So here goes nothing. For those of you who don't catch Sunday's Tony Award Best Musical, it goes to, and the New York Times thought they were being funny for once and went Wicked.
Great joke.
Yeah. Also, there was a very interesting rated Best Featured Actress because it was Celia Keenan-Bolger, obviously for Spelling Bee, Kelly O'Hara for Light in the Piazza as Clara, Sarah Ramirez for Spamalot, which they won, and then it was the person playing Truly Scrumptious in Chitty Bang Bang because that was also that year.
Jesus.
Yeah. So very interesting race. And the ironic thing about the Piazza and the Spelling Bee is Celia Keenan-Bolger originally played Clara in the out-of-town tryout for Piazza in Chicago. And then they like completely reworked the show. We're like, actually, bye. We're gonna replace you with Kelly, who was Franca in that production. And then they both ended up being nominated for Tonys together.
That's kind of cute.
It is. It all worked out in the end. Yeah, so in the end, they would win Best Book and Best Featured Actor for Dan Folger. By the end of their run, they would have many guest spellers, including, yeah, so as I said earlier, I found a list of some of the celebrities. They had Julie Andrews, Lea Salonga, Rula Sparza, Brian Stokes-Mitchell, Stephen Graham, Jeffrey Tobin, Curtis Sewa, and national spelling champ Kelly Close.
Icon.
And wouldn't it just be so fun to be there on the night that the celebrity was the guest speller?
Honestly, yeah, it's like how I imagine people felt at Gutenberg
Yeah. I feel like if it were on today, they'd do a Gutenberg model.
of just having like one.
One celebrity that gets out first round or something.
Yeah.
Um, it would close in January 2008, but would have 3 sit-down productions in other places in the US, in Boston, Chicago, and San Francisco. Now, Spelling Bee would make it to the UK. It would play at the Dartnall Warehouse in 2011, I believe. I'm going to check that date in a moment. But first, before I do that, now, do you want to guess which UK-based director directed Spelling Bee when it came to the UK?
I don't think I want to know.
Jamie Lloyd.
Incredible. An icon.
We forget that Jamie Lloyd, before he started doing the Jamie Lloyd thing, was like a director who used color. Like I was looking at the production shots because there was a part of me that was like, please God, let this be Jamie Lloydified, modern day Jamie Lloydified Spelling Bee. And it just looked like an average production of Spelling Bee. Yeah, so it wouldn't go over well actually. The Guardian would give it a 2-star review, saying, given the Donbars' exemplary musical track record, it's a bit of a shock when you find them importing this flimsy, factious diversion like Grease and Legally Blonde. It has a largely academic context, but William Finn's lyrics and music by Rachel Schenken's book have little in the bio of these shows, and it is unsure whether or not they are satirizing or celebrating a particularly American institution. They would say, I assume that the intention of this show is to show that spelling bees are a way for American kids to share their hang-ups by exhibiting their verbal prowess. But we have such a unloved fat boy, the discordant overachiever, the poor kid pining for her mum on a spiritual trek to India, and some guy with an uncontrollable loves who sings about his my unfortunate protuberance seems to have its own exuberance. But in the highly forgettable songs, we seem to be imposed on the action rather than arising organically, rather than organically arising from it. And many of the jokes are just arbitrary. It's a heavily American show, and it assumes that we know the difference between the Red Sox and the Yankees. It is implausible for high school kids to tell us that Nick Clegg is after the alternative vote, but what does that mean for the streets?
incredible.
So it was around 2011 then if we're making Nick Clegg jokes.
Mm.
Um, the best one can be said say the best one can say that the cast of Jamie Lloyd's production works with unreaming energy, but it's hard to warm to the show at all, for all its would-be schoolism that embodies a progressive infantilizing of this of the American musical. And when Christ appears in this version, one of the struggling contestants declares, "This is this isn't the kind of thing I care about. He speaks for many of us." It is interesting that the British public didn't take to this show because it is such an American idea. We don't have spelling bees here.
Mm. Yeah, I guess. I think it's to bring this whole episode full circle.
Yeah, yeah.
I think this is kind of what we were talking about when talking about Heathers.
Yeah.
I was just when we go and sit down, like me and you go and sit down and watch Spelling Bee, we're not there being like, I don't know if I can relate to the show on account of it being a deeply American institution.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, the
Funny.
score bangs, it's funny.
I wonder
This
what's gonna happen with
character's
the
really
guest
sad. I like
spellers.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas a critic is sitting down and being like, on account of it being a deeply American institution, I can't like we can't get this show. This is shit. This sucks.
It's like the high school kids of America don't know who Nick Clegg is, so I can't laugh at the joke. It's a bad joke. Whereas we'd be like, haha, Nick Clegg joke.
But I think no, because that's the ad lib, like the one I read
Yeah.
out about the Pope.
Yeah.
That's the political speech one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it
So
makes
that's just
sense
for it
that
makes sense for
performance.
us, and I think that gets it.
Yeah.
Like clearly, even they think that this is a funny joke. It just feels very like self-centered of being like, I like the jokes about British stuff,
Yeah.
but the jokes about American stuff, I didn't. So it's a bad show because there was too many American jokes.
And it was also like, oh, um, the Donmar is such an excellent place for musicals. Why the hell are they doing this comedy? This this flimsy bad show. And it's like, it's a good show.
I think it's just like part of it might be because this is gonna sound really weird, but it we weren't yet at the point of like American culture being so global yet,
Yes, yeah, I can see that.
especially not for like older audiences.
Yeah,
Like even for us in 2011, we would not have been able to go and see Spelling Bee Festival
so many reasons.
for so many reasons. But if we had, to some extent, I think we would have understood it
Yes,
because we'd grown up on like Disney Channel,
Disney
which is all
Channel,
American.
Nickelodeon.
Like you're watching people online and they're American.
Yeah,
And they're being like, yeah, when I was in fifth grade, I like won the school spelling bee. I was like, yeah, okay, fuck it. Sure, I know
at
what
the
spelling bee
school
is.
spelling bee, I spelled this really hard word. Like that kind of thing would be said.
Yeah. And it's just like I feel like if they did a production today, people
Mm,
would get it more simply because we've been exposed to American culture more. So it's not this like mystical thing.
I
It's just like,
think,
oh yeah, the spelling bee. I do the thing about having to say the Pledge of Allegiance, I feel like that's just
oh yeah,
either that wasn't done properly because it's not because I feel like it's such an easy thing to be like, and now we're gonna say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then when no one in the audience knows it,
yeah.
ad lib of that.
Be like, oh, you guys are unpatriotic Americans.
Like, can you imagine the comedy of doing that? That so far it's all been in American accents. No
Yeah.
one knows the Pledge of Allegiance, and you just get them being like, "Els." Just you're expected to know this.
Come on, should have written it in your planner.
Since I have year sevens who know the Pledge of Allegiance better than you, that is unacceptable, girls.
That's funny. Year 12s.
Els.
But I wonder
Like, I
if
feel like that's such an
yeah,
easy joke to make.
they could have turned it into a real opportunity. Yeah, I agree.
And if that didn't land, then yeah, I think that's an issue with the production,
Yeah,
not the reviewer. Because
yeah.
yeah, why would we know the Pledge of Allegiance?
No,
Was
Yeah, I
fucking
don't know.
I pledge allegiance to
Flag.
the flag of the United States of
Yes.
America, one nation united under God. That's all I know.
When my friend who moved to America, she told me that you have to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I was like, "You're British,
Yeah, you've got no
girl.
allegiance there.
Girl, you were born in London. Why have you got to pledge allegiance?"
But yeah, stuff like that. I
I
feel like
do.
that would be an issue with the production over
Mm,
an issue with the reviewer, but the rest of it feels just like an issue with the reviewer.
yeah, I do wonder that if they were to bring it back to the Don Bar, because I do think the Don Bar is an ideal space to put Spelling Bee.
I
How it
could see
was
it going to
released.
other Palace.
It's also the perfect time of Palace show. I agree.
It is like the perfect other Palace show.
If they were to put it somewhere like that, I feel like people would be a lot more receptive to it, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
And I would happily go
Even
see
for
it.
just like a couple weeks,
Again,
like
Christmas
a
show.
really limited run. I think it could be really fun.
It could be really fun. Also, don't attack the Don Bar and their musicals choices. They are never wrong. They are always right about their musicals choices.
They're always
Uh,
right.
I say this as someone who have treated, yeah, they didn't do a musical this year, who treated their past two musicals, so that Up Great Comet and Next to Normal, as the musical event of the year. So, be nice to my precious Don Bar. Don't hurt its feelings. Anyway, um, so Spelling Bee, it's done everywhere. It's done quite a lot regionally, I guess, because you can literally set it in your local gym. You could be like, oh, we have a sports hall, let's just do Spelling Bee, you know?
Mm.
So it works quite well. Disney announced in 2021 that they want to make a movie of it. We'll see if that ever happens. Disney, like,
Disney?
yeah, Disney.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Um, and as we said last week, there is a Kennedy Center production happening with a stacked cast. So we'll see. We'll see. Um, Next week we are continuing on with our little theming. And we are doing Ride the Cyclone, which
This is for
is
the date.
yeah, is it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, because they die on that day, don't they?
Not on that day specifically, it's like September 14th.
Yeah, it's
We
close.
put this in, we penciled this in when Ride the Cyclone was big.
Ride the Cyclone's so weird to me. I was thinking about it this week because I knew it was upcoming. I was like, how the fuck are we meant to talk about it?
On Monday, September 14th, they would board the Cyclone roller coaster.
Yeah, Ride the Cyclone. What a weird show. I'm interested. I'm looking forward to getting into it though, because
I think it really shows like how
different.
fucked our attention spans are from the pandemic. It's a great musical. We cared about it for about a month.
Yeah, and everyone moved on. Yeah, I have so many thoughts about it because I remember when it started popping off, me and you having a lot of discussions about it.
Mm.
And do you remember we've never watched Bootleg Our Lives, but if we have watched
That
Ride the
wasn't
Cyclone,
a fucking bootleg.
it's not a fucking bootleg, it was a pro shot, let's be real here.
As someone who definitely didn't watch
The body.
the Bonnie and Clyde bootleg, that was about 3 pixels.
3 pixels and a dream.
That was not a fucking bootleg. That
There were like
I may or
wide
may not have
shots.
seen of Ride the Cyclone.
Okay, yes, there were no close-ups, but there was a wide shot of the entire stage in high quality.
There were different angles.
At no point did they have to put the camera away, and so it was just darkness whilst a scene or a song started.
It was crazy.
And we got like halfway through, we looked at each other like, this is a pro shot, right? There's no
Like,
way
this is not a bootleg. This is not a
this is
bootleg.
not a bootleg. But no, I think they were also one thing I'd like to say about Ride Cycling before we fully get into it. They were very smart not to do any big productions of it really quickly.
Yeah.
Anyway, we will see you guys next week. Bye bye.